The stars burned quietly above the endless dark of space, but for humanity, silence never meant safety. Long ago, humans were broken, scattered across the galaxy after a war they had no chance to win. The great alien empires thought humanity had been erased forever. Their worlds were destroyed, their fleets burned, and their colonies turned to dust. For centuries, the galaxy forgot about them. But history has a way of waiting. On the edge of a forgotten star system, far beyond the reach of alien patrols, a signal was born. It was faint, old, and filled with codes no one alive could understand. For 300 years, it pulsed from a dead world, reaching into the void like a whisper. Ships passed it, explorers ignored it, but one day, someone listened. That someone was a young scavenger named Eric. He was not a soldier or a leader, just a wanderer who survived by finding scrap in abandoned battlefields. His small ship was broken, his food was low, and his future was empty. But when his scanners caught the signal, he felt something in his chest, like the pull of destiny. The message was old, but it carried power. It spoke of a vault hidden under the planet's surface, older than any alien empire still standing. Inside, it promised, were the secrets of a civilization forgotten by the stars. A civilization called humanity. Eric thought it was a trick. Stories like this were common in the trade routes, legends of treasure worlds and ancient machines. But the signal was too steady, too strong. He followed it down through the broken atmosphere of the planet. His ship shook as fire wrapped around the hull, but he forced it down until he touched cracked earth. The planet was a graveyard. Blackened ruins stretched for miles, broken towers reaching toward a sky that no longer held life. Wind howled through shattered streets, carrying the smell of dust and rust. It was not just a dead world, it was a murdered one. Eric walked among the ruins, his boots crunching over glass that had once been windows. He felt eyes on him, though he knew nothing lived here. The silence was heavy, and in that silence, he began to understand something terrifying. This was not an alien city. The broken statues, the rusted machines, the words carved into stone, they were human. This had been one of their last strongholds. The signal led him underground, through tunnels that still hummed faintly with power. Lights flickered, old but unbroken. As he descended, the air grew colder, and the weight of history pressed against him. He reached a door so massive it looked like it could hold back the end of time. It was sealed, but when his hand touched it, the metal glowed. The door opened. Inside was not a tomb, but a fortress. Screens flickered to life. Machines hummed. And in the center, a voice spoke. It was not alive, but it carried warmth, like an echo of the people who had built it. "Welcome," it said. "Humanity endures." Eric froze. He could barely breathe. The AI explained that this vault was built in the final days of the human resistance. When the alien empires crushed their fleets and hunted them to extinction, the last survivors had hidden their knowledge, their weapons, and their hope here. They believed one day, someone would find it. Someone human. Eric trembled. He had always thought humanity was weak, a forgotten race that had no place in the galaxy. But here, in this vault, he saw a different truth. Humans had not been erased. They had been waiting. The AI showed him records of ancient battles, human fleets standing against enemies 10 times their size, soldiers refusing to surrender, colonies rising even after being burned. It spoke of weapons hidden in other vaults across the stars, each one waiting to be awakened. But it also spoke of danger. The signal he had followed had not gone unnoticed. Others had heard it too. Alien warships were coming. They would not allow humanity to rise again. Eric stood in the glow of the machines, his heart pounding. He was no warrior, no leader. But he was the one who had found this place. The galaxy thought humans were weak. Soon, it would remember the truth. Above the dead world, shadows moved among the stars. Alien ships closed in, ready to finish what their ancestors had started. But this time, humanity was not broken. It was waiting. And the galaxy was about to tremble. Eric did not leave the vault for hours. His mind spun with everything the AI had shown him. Fleets that once filled the skies, soldiers who fought until their last breath, and weapons that could shake entire planets. He was only one man, yet here he stood at the edge of something far greater than himself. The AI spoke again, its voice calm but urgent. Time is short. Enemy ships approach. You must choose, hide, or awaken humanity's fire. Eric's throat felt dry. He had no army, no fleet, only a scavenger ship barely held together by rust and patches. How could he fight? But deep inside, something stirred. For years, he had been told humans were weak, that their time had ended. Every alien trader, every mercenary captain had laughed at his people, calling them dust of history. Yet here was proof that humanity had not only survived but had once stood as giants. He clenched his fists. He could not let this be buried again. The AI guided him to a chamber deeper in the vault. In the center stood a machine unlike anything he had ever seen. It was tall, with metal wings folded tight and a core that glowed faintly blue. Dust covered its surface, but even in silence it radiated power. This, the AI explained, is a sentinel. A weapon built not for armies, but for those who carried humanity's last spark. It waits for a pilot. Eric stepped closer. The machine almost felt alive, as though it was watching him. His hands shook as he reached for the controls. The moment his fingers brushed the metal, the blue core flared bright. The chamber rumbled, as if the vault itself was waking. Above the planet, alien ships broke through the clouds. Their hulls shimmered with dark metal, sharp and cruel. They were hunters, trained for extermination. The lead vessel scanned the ruins, locking onto the signal that had drawn them here. They expected nothing but silence, nothing but another human ruin to erase. But deep below, Eric climbed into the sentinel. The cockpit closed around him, wrapping him in light. Symbols flashed before his eyes, strange yet familiar, as if part of his blood remembered them. His body trembled, but the machine steadied him. For the first time in his life, he did not feel small. The AI's voice was steady. Sentinel linked. Humanity's fire burns again. The machine rose. Walls split open as platforms carried the sentinel upward, through layers of rock and ruin. Eric's heart pounded as sunlight hit the cockpit. Then, for the first time in centuries, a human war machine stood beneath the open sky. The alien fleet saw it. Their scanners screamed warnings. To them, it was impossible. Humans were dead. Their machines were dust. Yet here one stood, alive, awake, and burning with power. The first alien ship fired. A lance of energy cut through the sky. Eric flinched, but the sentinel moved on its own, shields flaring to life. The blast broke against it like waves against stone. The cockpit vibrated, and Eric felt the machine waiting, asking him for a choice. He gave it one. The sentinel's arms lifted, and light gathered in its core. With a thunderous roar, it fired. The beam cut through the clouds, striking the alien vessel. Metal screamed, flames erupted, and the ship fell from the sky, breaking apart as it crashed into the ruins below. Eric gasped. His chest felt like it would burst, but the machine did not falter. It was as if he had been made for it. The other alien ships hesitated. For the first time in centuries, the hunters felt fear. Humanity had risen again. But they were not retreating. More ships descended, surrounding the planet. Eric knew he could not win this alone. The AI's voice returned, sharp with urgency. Listen. The sentinel is one flame, but others wait. The vaults are hidden across the stars. To awaken them, you must escape. Eric understood. He was not meant to fight here until death. He was meant to carry the spark outward, to bring humanity back piece by piece. The sentinel launched into the air, carrying him higher than he had ever flown. Alien fighters swarmed, firing streams of plasma, but the machine danced between them like a predator among prey. Eric moved with it, his instincts merging with its design. He struck once, twice, cutting ships apart, but always the AI whispered, "Escape, not destroy. Escape, not yet. Finally, he broke through the atmosphere. The stars opened before him, endless and cold, but no longer empty. He felt them calling, each one hiding secrets his people had left behind. The alien fleet chased him, but the sentinel bent space, tearing open a corridor of light. Arek's ship, no, his weapon, leapt forward, vanishing into the void. Behind him, the ruined planet burned under alien fire. But they were too late. The spark had escaped. Humanity had begun to rise again. In the silence of the stars, Arek swore to himself. He was no longer a scavenger. He was a messenger of his people, a soldier of the forgotten, and the first voice of a storm that would shake the galaxy. And the galaxy would tremble. Arek did not know how long the sentinel carried him through the stars. Space bent around the machine, folding into rivers of light. He felt weightless, yet every heartbeat told him he was moving faster than any ship he had ever known. The alien fleet behind him was gone, left behind in the void, but the AI's voice reminded him of the truth. They will follow. They always follow. Arek stared at the endless stars. Somewhere out there, hidden in forgotten systems, more vaults waited. Each one carried the strength of his people, sealed away for centuries. If he could reach them, if he could wake them, then humanity would no longer be a whisper. It would roar again. The sentinel slowed as a small planet came into view. It was quiet, covered in dark oceans and scattered islands of rock. No lights, no cities, no sign of life. But beneath the waves, the AI said, lay another vault. Arek guided the sentinel down through thick clouds. Lightning cracked across the sky, thunder rolling over endless seas. The machine dove beneath the water, sinking into darkness. Strange shapes moved around him, long shadows with glowing eyes, but none dared come close. The sentinel glowed like a star in the deep, a guardian wrapped in fire. At last, they reached the vault. It was not buried in ruins like the first, but built into a canyon of black stone, its gates sealed with chains of light. The moment Arek's machine touched it, the chains dissolved. The gates opened. Inside, another chamber awoke. Lights flickered, water drained, and once again a voice spoke. But this one was not calm. It was sharp, filled with warning. You are late. They are coming. Arek's chest tightened. He had hoped for time, but the aliens had already found this place. The vault showed him images, scanners picking up the enemy fleet cutting through space, faster and hungrier than before. They had seen the sentinel escape, and now they knew the truth. Humans were not gone. The AI guided Arek deeper into the vault. There were machines here too, but not like the sentinel. These were older, heavier, built for battle in space. Their frames were massive, their cores cold, waiting for someone to wake them. Can they fight? Arek asked. Yes, the AI said. But only with pilots. Only with humans. Arek's heart sank. He was alone. There were no pilots left. For a moment, the weight of it all pressed down on him. How could one man carry a war? How could he fill the place of thousands, of millions? He thought of running, of leaving this place before the enemy arrived. But then he remembered the first vault, the statues, the ruins, the records of men and women who had stood when all hope was gone. He clenched his jaw. Humanity had not built these vaults for cowards. Then teach me, he said. Teach me to wake them. The AI obeyed. Symbols flashed before him, codes and commands, old human languages that flowed into his mind. The sentinel connected with the sleeping machines, pouring life into their cores. Slowly, one by one, their lights began to glow. Above, the sky burned. The alien fleet had arrived. Their ships blotted out the clouds, their weapons charging. They would not allow this vault to survive. Arek rose in the sentinel, leading the newly awakened war machines. They were clumsy at first, slow to move, but their power was undeniable. They were relics of a forgotten time, yet even in their first breath they made the alien fleet hesitate. The first blast came, tearing the sea apart. Waves rose like mountains, crashing against the vault's gates. Eric's machine soared upward, breaking through the storm. The alien ships fired again, but the Sentinel weaved between them, shields blazing. Behind him, the awakened machines followed, their cannons lighting the sky. The battle erupted. Alien fighters swarmed, fast and sharp, but they had never faced human war machines. Beams cut through the dark, tearing ships apart. Explosions painted the storm in fire. Eric's Sentinel struck again and again, each blow guided by the rage of history itself. But for every enemy destroyed, more came. The aliens had endless ships, endless weapons, while Eric's force was only a handful of ancient machines. One by one, they fell, torn apart in fire and steel. "Retreat," the AI urged. "If you fall, the flame dies with you." Eric's blood boiled. He wanted to fight until nothing was left, to show the galaxy that humans did not bow. But deep inside, he knew the AI was right. He was not meant to win yet. He was meant to survive, to carry the spark to the next vault, and the next after that. With a roar of engines, the Sentinel dove into the sea of stars once more. Alien ships chased him, but the ancient machine opened a corridor of light, tearing space apart. The enemy fire vanished behind him, swallowed by the void. He was alive. Barely. But as the stars stretched before him, Eric felt the truth burning stronger than before. The aliens were afraid. They had tried to erase humanity once, but now they saw it returning. And fear was the first crack in their empire. Eric swore again, his voice steady in the silence of the cockpit. "This is not the end. This is the beginning." And somewhere in the dark, waiting in silence, other vaults listened. The Sentinel tore across the void, light bending around it as stars became streaks. Eric sat in the cockpit, his hands trembling but his eyes burning with fire. He had escaped again, but the cost was heavy. The machines he had awakened in the ocean vault were gone, destroyed in the battle. He was alone once more. The AI's voice echoed in the silence. "They will never stop. Once the galaxy believed humanity was erased. Now they know the truth. They will hunt you until nothing remains." Eric stared at the endless dark. He knew it was true. The aliens would send fleets, armies, assassins, everything they had. But he also knew something they did not. Humanity had built more vaults. They had scattered their hope like seeds across the stars, waiting for a time like this. And Eric was the one chosen to find them. The AI shifted his course toward a distant cluster of stars. One of them, it said, carried not just weapons but something greater. Something living. At first, Eric did not understand. He thought all humans outside the vaults were gone. He had grown up believing his people were dust, scattered traders, slaves, and wanderers with no home. But the AI spoke with certainty. Not all were destroyed. Some escaped. Some endured. And one of their refuges lies ahead. Eric's heart pounded. The idea seemed impossible. Could there truly be others like him? Not scattered fragments, but a hidden colony that had survived the storm? The Sentinel emerged from the corridor of light near a barren world. Its surface was dry, cracked, and lifeless. But as Eric drew closer, the machine revealed the truth. Beneath the planet's surface, hidden under layers of rock and metal, a great city pulsed with faint energy. The AI's voice softened. "This is Haven, one of the last human refuges." Eric landed carefully. The ground opened, revealing a hangar hidden beneath the dust. The Sentinel descended into darkness, and as the cockpit opened, Eric climbed out, his boots touching the floor of a place that should not have existed. Lights flickered. Then voices echoed. Human voices. Eric froze as figures stepped from the shadows. They were cautious, armored, and armed with weapons older than him. Their eyes were hard, their faces worn by years of survival, but they were human. Truly human. The leader, a tall woman with scarred cheeks, stepped forward. Her weapon never lowered. "You don't belong here. This place is sealed." Eric lifted his hands, his voice steady though his chest shook. "My name is Eric. I carry the fire of the old vaults. Humanity is not gone. I have proof. They laughed bitterly, muttering to one another. To them, he was another scavenger, another liar chasing legends. But then the hangar shook as the sentinel stepped forward, its massive frame glowing with ancient power. Gasps filled the air. The leader's eyes widened. She lowered her weapon. That is impossible. Eric nodded. It was waiting. And there are more like it. We don't have to hide anymore. The humans of Haven led him deeper into the city. It was vast, built into the bones of the planet, filled with families, markets, and soldiers. For generations, they had lived here in secret, believing they were the last. They had survived on fragments of technology, never daring to rise, always fearing discovery. Now, standing before them, was proof that their people's strength had not been buried. But fear was not so easily broken. In the council chambers, elders argued. Some saw Eric as a savior, the sign they had waited for. Others saw him as a curse, a flame that would only bring alien wrath upon their hidden refuge. They will find us, one elder warned. If they learn Haven exists, they will burn us to ash. Eric stood tall, his voice strong. They already know humanity lives. They are hunting me. But if we stay hiding, if we bury ourselves in fear, then we are already dead. The only way forward is to fight. Silence followed his words. Many turned away. Some glared with anger. But in the eyes of the younger soldiers, and in the faces of those who still dreamed of freedom, Eric saw something stirring. Hope. That night, as he prepared to rest, the scarred leader came to him. Her name was Kaylin, and she had commanded Haven's defense for years. She studied him quietly before speaking. You remind me of the old stories. Heroes who fought when the galaxy thought we were finished. But stories don't win wars. Do you truly believe humanity can rise again? Eric met her gaze. I don't believe. I know. Because I've seen what we were. And I've seen what we can be again. Kaylin was silent for a long moment. Then, slowly, she nodded. But before their alliance could deepen, alarms blared. The walls shook. From the skies above, ships descended. Alien hunters had tracked the Sentinel's trail. Haven was no longer hidden. Kaylin drew her weapon, fire burning in her eyes. Then we fight together. And as the ground rumbled with the first strikes of war, Eric knew this was only the beginning. For the first time in centuries, humanity was not just surviving. It was standing. And the galaxy would soon feel it. The alarms screamed through Haven. Walls shook, dust fell from the ceilings, and people ran through the tunnels in panic. For generations, this hidden refuge had lived in silence, unseen by the galaxy. Now, the silence was broken. The aliens had found them. Eric stood at the edge of the hangar, staring upward as the Sentinel powered up. Its blue core pulsed like a heart ready for war. Kaylin stood beside him, her armor scratched but her grip on her weapon steady. They've brought a fleet, she said. Her voice was hard, but Eric saw the fear in her eyes. We've never fought ships like these. Our weapons are old, our defenses weak. Eric placed a hand on the Sentinel's frame. Then we fight with more than weapons. We fight with will. Humanity has stood before empires greater than these, and we endured. Kaylin gave him a sharp look, then nodded once. Very well. Show us what the fire of the vaults can do. The first strike came. Alien ships fired beams that tore through the crust of the planet, shaking the underground city. The ceilings cracked, tunnels collapsed. Families screamed as soldiers rushed to the defenses. For a moment, chaos ruled. But then the Sentinel rose. Eric guided the machine upward, breaking through stone and dust until he emerged into the burning sky. Alien warships loomed above, their hulls black against the clouds. Fighters swarmed, circling like vultures. The instant they saw the Sentinel, they fired. Beams of light and missiles filled the air. But the Sentinel moved like a predator. Shields flared, weapons sang, and in a flash of fire, the first alien fighter was torn apart. Eric roared as the machine carried his fury into the sky, striking again and again. Below, Kalen led Haven's soldiers to the surface. They poured from hidden gates, carrying rifles and cannons older than their grandfathers, yet their eyes burned with something new. They had lived in fear too long. Now, with the sentinel blazing above them, they felt something stronger than fear. Hope. The battle spread across the surface. Alien ships dropped troops, twisted creatures bred for war, their claws tearing through rock and steel. Kalen's soldiers met them with fire, shouting as they fought. For every human that fell, another rose beside them, refusing to give ground. Eric's sentinel fought in the skies, its weapons tearing holes through enemy ships. But for every vessel destroyed, more appeared. The aliens were relentless. The ground quaked as their capital ship descended, a giant of black steel that blotted out the sun. Its weapons charged, glowing with the power to shatter mountains. The AI's voice filled Eric's cockpit. If that ship fires, Haven will fall. You must strike now. Eric gritted his teeth. The Sentinel's weapons were strong, but the capital ship was vast, its shields layered and unbroken. To reach it, he would need more than firepower. He would need courage. He dove through the clouds, weaving between fighters, climbing higher and higher. Plasma fire scorched the air around him, but the Sentinel did not slow. Its engine screamed, its core burning brighter than ever. Eric's hands moved without thought. He was not just flying the machine. He was one with it. The capital ship loomed closer. Its cannons locked onto him. Alarms screamed. The AI's voice was sharp. Impact in 10 seconds. Eric whispered. Then we hit first. The Sentinel's core opened, gathering energy until the cockpit glowed like a star. With a roar that shook the sky, it unleashed everything. A beam of pure light cut upward, striking the alien capital ship. Shields flared, shattered, and the beam drove through its hull. Metal screamed, explosions erupted, and the giant vessel cracked apart. For a moment, the sky itself burned. The capital ship fell, breaking into fire and fragments that rained across the land. Alien fighters scattered, their formation broken, their courage shattered. On the ground, Haven's soldiers cheered. Their voices rose together, echoing through the ruins, stronger than fear. The aliens retreated. The battle was not won by strength alone. It was won by defiance, by the refusal of humanity to bow. Haven still stood. When the smoke cleared, Eric landed the Sentinel at the city's gates. Kalen met him there, her armor scorched, her face streaked with dirt and blood. But her eyes shone with fierce pride. "You've done more than fight," she said. "You've reminded us who we are." Eric shook his head. "We've only begun. The galaxy will send more. Stronger fleets, greater armies. Haven cannot stay hidden anymore. We must rise, not as one city, but as one people." The council gathered that night. 4 hours, voices clashed, fear against hope, despair against fire. But in the end, the truth was undeniable. Humanity could not hide any longer. They had fought, and they had survived. The first stand had been made. And when the vote was called, the decision was clear. Haven would no longer remain silent. They would fight. Eric stood on the balcony of the council hall, staring at the stars. Kalen joined him, her arms folded. "You've lit the fire," she said. "Now the galaxy will feel the heat." Eric's eyes narrowed. "Then let them. Humanity is not broken. Humanity endures. And soon, humanity will rise." The stars above seemed to tremble, as though the galaxy itself had heard his vow. The news of Haven's victory spread like wildfire. In the deep halls of alien empires, counselors and generals watched reports with disbelief. For centuries, humanity had been a ghost, a broken race thought erased from history. Yet now, images burned across the networks, images of the Sentinel tearing apart a capital ship, images of human soldiers standing defiant against alien troops. The galaxy trembled. In the high throne of the Vare Dominion, lords argued in panic. They were destroyed, one shouted. This is impossible. Not destroyed, another whispered, her voice shaking. Only waiting. Armies were mobilized. Fleets gathered. Orders spread across the stars. Find them. Erase them. This time, forever. But fear does strange things to power. Where once the alien empires had mocked humanity, now they feared it. And fear bred cracks. Not every empire trusted the other. Not every commander wanted to fight. Some whispered of making peace, but their voices were silenced by those who demanded war. Meanwhile, in Haven, humanity prepared. Eric walked through the city, no longer hidden in shadows but alive with purpose. Soldiers trained openly in the squares. Engineers worked day and night to repair the old weapons and study the fragments of alien ships that had fallen in the battle. For the first time in generations, the people of Haven did not whisper. They shouted. They sang. They believed. Kaylin stood beside Eric at every meeting, her presence sharp as steel. She had once been only a commander of defense. Now, she was a leader of resistance. The galaxy knows we are alive, she told the council. They will come. We cannot wait here to die. We must strike first. The council was divided. Some wanted to keep building defenses, to guard Haven with all their strength. But Eric spoke with fire in his voice. If we wait, they will crush us. If we run, they will hunt us. The only path is forward. The vaults are still out there. Humanity's strength is scattered across the stars. We must gather it. We must rise. And so, the first human fleet in centuries was born. It was small, only a handful of repaired ships, scavenged and armed with weapons that should have been useless against the empires. But with the Sentinel leading them, they were more than ships. They were symbols. Eric climbed into the Sentinel, its blue core blazing. Kaylin commanded the lead warship, her voice steady as she gave orders to the new fleet. Children and families filled the docks, watching as the vessels lifted into the sky. They were not just leaving to fight. They were leaving to claim their place again. Their first mission was dangerous. A nearby system held another vault, hidden within the ruins of a shattered moon. But alien scouts had already been sighted there. If humanity wanted the vault, they would have to fight for it. The fleet moved in silence through the void. The soldiers aboard whispered prayers, not to gods, but to history, to the countless men and women who had once fought when all hope was gone. When they reached the moon, they found the enemy waiting. A blockade of alien ships surrounded the ruins, their hulls gleaming with cruel light. Kaylin's voice rang out. Humanity fights today not to survive, but to live. We strike together. The battle began. Alien ships moved with precision, their weapons firing in endless waves. But Eric's Sentinel cut through them like fire through ice. Shields blazed, cannons roared, and every enemy that fell sent a tremor through the blockade. The human fleet fought with fury. Their ships were smaller, weaker, but their will was stronger. For the first time in centuries, human war banners lit the sky. Every soldier fought as though their ancestors stood at their side. But the aliens did not break easily. Their reinforcements poured from the dark, surrounding the fleet, pressing them to the edge of destruction. Ships cracked, soldiers screamed, and for a moment it seemed humanity would fall again. Then Eric struck. Guided by the AI, the Sentinel plunged into the heart of the enemy line. Its core blazed brighter than ever, its weapons cutting paths of light through the darkness. Eric felt no fear. He felt only fire. Humanity endures, he shouted, his voice carrying across the comms. And humanity will rise again. The words spread through the fleet like a storm. Soldiers roared back, their courage ignited. Ships pushed forward with reckless strength, smashing through the blockade. At last, the ruins of the moon lay open. The vault revealed itself, its gates shining with ancient power. The aliens, broken and burning, fled into the dark. Humanity had won not just a battle, but something greater. They had claimed another vault, another piece of their forgotten strength. When the vault opened, more machines awoke. Weapons, data, records of the past, all now in human hands. On the bridge of her ship, Kaylin turned to Eric, her eyes fierce. This is only the beginning. The galaxy thought we were broken. But now it will see the truth. Humanity is not broken. Humanity is the storm. And as the human fleet gathered in the glow of the vault, the stars themselves seemed to wait, trembling for what was to come. The galaxy was no longer silent. Whispers spread across every star system. Humanity had returned. Traders told stories of a lone machine tearing fleets apart, of a hidden refuge that had risen from the shadows, of a broken people who now fought like fire. The alien empires trembled. In the grand chambers of the Vare Dominion, warlords argued in rage and fear. Some demanded the immediate extermination of every human world, others whispered of retreat. For centuries, they had ruled without question. Now, a name they had buried in blood rose again, burning in every report. Humanity. But they would not let it rise without resistance. Armies gathered, fleets stronger than any before. They would crush this spark before it became a firestorm. And still, the fire spread. Vault after vault awoke, their machines and weapons joining the fight. The human fleet grew, once scattered ships, now a storm that moved as one. Haven became more than a refuge, it became a banner. Across the galaxy, humans who had lived as slaves, wanderers, and forgotten survivors now raised their heads. They saw the sentinel, they saw the fleet, and they saw the truth. They were not broken. They were waiting. And now, they were rising. The final battle came at the edge of a dying star. There, the largest alien fleet in centuries gathered, thousands of warships, their weapons glowing with the promise of annihilation. They had chosen this place carefully, far from human worlds, a trap designed to end the rebellion in one crushing strike. Eric stood in the cockpit of the Sentinel, his hands steady, his heart burning. Around him, the fleet of Haven was ready, hundreds of ships now, human and salvaged, carrying the hope of millions. Kaylin's voice carried across every channel, her words sharp as steel. Today, the galaxy expects us to die. Today, they expect the fire to go out. Let us show them wrong. Let us show them what it means to be human. The fleets clashed. The sky burned with light as thousands of cannons fired. Alien ships moved like a tide, endless and merciless. Human ships weaved between them, striking fast, fighting not with numbers but with fury. Every explosion, every strike, was proof that humanity would not bow again. The Sentinel cut through the enemy lines, a spear of fire in the dark. Eric fought without fear, his machine blazing with the strength of every vault it had touched. Fighters swarmed him, battleships cornered him, but he never slowed. He felt the weight of his ancestors in every strike, the strength of every human who had ever refused to kneel. But the aliens were vast, endless. For every ship destroyed, 10 more filled the void. The human fleet groaned under the pressure, hulls breaking, soldiers dying. Kaylin's ship shook as enemy fire tore through its shields. For a moment, it seemed the galaxy would drown humanity once more. Then the vaults answered. Across the stars, signals lit up, machines long buried awakening, AIs activating, hidden weapons roaring back to life. Old codes, older than the empires themselves, pulsed through space. And then, from every corner of the void, reinforcements came. Ships piloted by humans long thought lost. Fleets hidden in exile. Colonies that had stayed silent for centuries now erupted into the fight. The alien empires had prepared for a rebellion. They had not prepared for resurrection. The tide turned. Human ships swarmed like fire through dry grass, burning faster than the enemy could contain. Alien formations broke apart. Their commanders shouted in rage and fear, but their fleets faltered. For the first time in centuries, they knew what it was to be hunted. Eric drove the Sentinel into the heart of the enemy flagship, its core blazing brighter than a star. He struck once, twice, tearing through shield after shield until the ship cracked open. Explosions ripped it apart, and with its fall, the alien fleet collapsed. Silence filled the void. The battle was won. When the smoke cleared, The human fleet stood scarred but unbroken. The stars, once filled with fire, now carried only the glow of victory. Kalen's voice carried across every channel, her words heavy with pride. Let the galaxy remember. Humanity was never broken. Humanity was never gone. We endured. And now, we rise. Across every human world, across every hidden colony, the word spread. The fire of unity burned brighter than ever. The galaxy had tried to erase them, but humanity had returned stronger, fiercer, unshakable. Eric stood in the cockpit of the Sentinel, his eyes on the endless stars. He had begun this journey as a scavenger, a wanderer with no future. Now, he carried the weight of a people, the strength of history itself. And as the silence of victory settled, he whispered the vow that had carried him from the ruins to the battlefield. Humanity endures. Humanity rises. And the galaxy will tremble. The stars burned on, but they no longer belonged only to the empires. They belonged to humanity once more. And nothing would ever take them away again.